Well, hello everyone and welcome to the final race meeting of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain for this season. My name is Connery Maddock. I'm joined by Paul Smith on the commentary as ever here today as we bring things to a close for the 2023 season. We've already crowned a pro champion in Sebastian Job. However, we have a little bit of unfinished business to be getting on with here, Paul. In particular, that AM Championship, which is separated by so little.
Yeah, it's a really close championship between Leo Gariboli and Gareth Higgins there, and we're going to be keeping an eye on that one all the way through today's event, and well, I'm looking forward to that one. Don't forget as well, second, third in the championship as well. That's not completed in the pro standings either, so keep an eye on how things would turn out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait to get started. It's like you said, even though we've crowned a pro champion, still lots to look forward to here over the course of the two races that we have to run here today. And we're doing it here at Brands Hatch once again. We visited this circuit earlier on in the season, albeit in its Indy layout, the very short layout there for race meeting number 2 of the season. But we're heading back here, this time, Paul, onto the GP circuit.
Yeah, it's really got some challenges for this one. You're not going to set up the car the same as you did on the Indy layout. It's got a really good back section on the Grand Prix loop with opportunities aplenty around here if you are a little bit brave at the times.
Yeah, absolutely, and we've had our fair share of many a dramatic finish here at the GP layout of Brands Hatch. Some in very recent times here on RaceSpotTV. But let's have a look at the format here for this for this afternoon's proceedings. We are in open qualifying here at the moment, 20 minutes, and that will be a solid 20-minute limit given the heat racing sessions. They won't be able to complete their lap at the end. And then we head into towards our race number 1, 25 minutes. Then we'll get a little bit of a break between the two sessions before we head into another 25-minute race, this time with the top 6 reverse grids. There are the point structure as well. Remember, 2 championships here for this particular season. There's a little bit of a change compared to the previous seasons of this championship that we've had. Of course, pro standings are already decided, but AM standings, those are still all to play for. Remember, you have your bonus points, 2 points for pole position here in this one. Moving on then to the Pro Championship, you can see that Sebastian Job, well, impossible for anyone to surpass him here today. He is already the Pro Champion here in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. However, further behind, things are still undecided, particularly between Will Chadwick, Matt Emery, Jamie Moon, and technically, mathematically possible, Jack Cedric as well, getting themselves involved in for those, well, top 3 spaces, I suppose. Then you've got yourself Josh Malin there in P6. He's a little bit too far adrift to be challenging the top 5. And then we've got Ollie Peacock, Leon Penn, Kane Halliburton, and Eric Grove rounding out the top 10. Then, of course, we head in towards our AM standings, and this is where a lot of the action is going to be here today, because look at that. Leo Gariboli has 2 points over Gareth Higgins. Just 2 points separating your top 2 AM drivers here today. And, well, this was all caused, Paul, by a big swing that happened in the previous round, with Gariboli having an absolutely diabolical couple of races. Gareth Higgins scoring some good points allows himself to bring it this close into the final round.
Yeah, certainly. It's been a tremendous run from Gareth Higgins, and both drivers have had their off weeks. So today they'll be hoping that they're both on an absolute flyer and hoping to get themselves that AM Championship. And Luke Pennington, mathematically, still within a shout, but he needs a lot to go his way.
Yeah, absolutely. He basically needs Gariboli and Higgins to score 0 points in each of the 2 races, or very few points for him to even have a single thought about taking the AM Championship. But here's the view from up above here at this Brands Hatch circuit down in Kent, in the southeast of the UK, a venue that is so historically important to British motorsport, Paul.
Yeah, it's a fantastic venue, and one that the drivers will love to race around here.
Well, and you had yourself to give us a little bit of a showcase of what this track has to offer. So we're going to go into the track guide with the one, the only, Paul Smith.
I'm Paul Smith, commentator for the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great British Championship, and welcome to Brands Hatch for the final track walk of the season. Brands Hatch Grand Prix is a fantastically flowing circuit with plenty of elevation change to spare. Finding that flow is key to finding pace here, but that's easier said than done when you will often need to set up overtakes 3 to 4 corners in advance. One of the best areas to make a move is into Surtees, coming onto the Grand Prix loop. It's a great place to try and outbrake someone, but get it wrong and you'll be swallowed up down the next straight and down into Hawthorns. The brave drivers will use the fast sweeper of Westfield to set up the cutback through Dingledale and into Sheen, but again, it is a big compromise, and getting it wrong will see you losing spots onto the grass and possibly even out of the race. With that said, join me now while I take you for a hot lap of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix layout. So here we go then with a lap on board around this magnificent Brands Hatch circuit. Along the Brabham Straight, keep to the left hand side coming into Paddock Hill Bend, down to third gear. Try and get the car to the curb on the inside, use all the curb down the drop on the outside. Keep to the left hand side up Pilgrim's Rise into Druids. Hug the inside of this one, keep to the curb, second gear through there, and then over to the right hand side, down into Graham Hill Bend. Using all of the runoff there and then some on the exit of Graham Hill. Keep to the right hand side for Surtees. You want to get a good run through this one, good exit, because you're going to carry the speed out of Surtees and then along, plunge downhill, down through Pilgrim's Drop underneath the bridge and then into Hawthorns. Fourth gear this corner, try and get the car to that inside curb. It'll help hook your car around here to the left hand side again for Westfield Bend. Use all the curb on the inside and the outside as you plunge downhill through Pilgrim's Drop and then back uphill in towards Sheens. Again, using all the curb on the inside, back end wants to just go away from you to the right hand side for the left hander at Sterling's. Use that camber to your advantage. Let the car drift over to the left hand side through Clearways into the Clark curve. Third gear and then onto the power once again. Down the Jack Brabham Straight, and that is going to be a lap of this magnificent Brands Hatch venue. I hope that you learnt a thing or two over that lap, and hope that it gets you primed for the final round of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great British Championship. That said, we'll go back live now to Connery and myself.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much for that track guide, Paul. That was entertaining.
Entertaining isn't the right word. You should be quick, but unfortunately, I'm not up to the pace of these guys, and that's why I'm sat in the commentary box here. But I had fun making that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, they're busy racing, so they can't judge unless they go back and look at it afterwards, I suppose, with the drivers in this session. But we've got ourselves qualifying underway then. 20 minutes of open qualifying here. Of course, with that asterisk on the end that says that you can't complete your lap once the time expires. But currently, it is Thomas Cope leading everyone for the moment here in this particular qualifying session. But of course, you know, as has happened with pretty much every single qualifying session so far this season, drivers have a lengthy prep to get their cars in the right condition to go for this flying lap with the whole burning off the fuel situation.
And that's it, you know, we've got that as, Jack Sedgwick has had issues out there. Boy, just touched and grazed the wall with his nose there. Here we go, just the slightest of touches. And that's the thing with this Brands Hatch circuit, it will bite back, will this venue, if you make one little mistake. So that is a big moment. But yeah, the drivers, they're going around right now with a race setup, which means race fuel on board. The drivers don't want that for qualifying to set their fastest time, so they're just going around trying to get that fuel burnt off and then really go for it in the last 5 or 6 minutes or so.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is such an old school track, Paul, where you don't have that much room for error. Like you mentioned, you step a foot out of line here, you're in grass, and you can have a bit of a tough job trying to control that car, keep it pointed in the right direction. So we might be seeing a bit of that here today. Here's the onboard then with Leo Gariboli. I have to wonder who has longer hair, me or him, but we'll have to check that one later. But he's currently getting his qualifying laps prepared for the moment.
Yeah, just getting himself set up, and Gareth Higgins, look at the focus on him right now. He's just watching he's just absolutely just one thing only on his mind, and that is getting his car set up for a qualifying time. And well, he's giving it a bit of some over the start-finish straight. Now don't forget, there is actually a limit as to how slow you can drive around here. So the rules do dictate that you're not allowed to go too slow on your out laps, just for the safety of others on the track. But there we go, plunge downhill into Graham Hill Bend, the left hand up. Higgins giving it the old sim racers lean as well. That gets you an extra 1/10 of a second into Surtees. And watch him now pick up the power on corner exit. Back end was just sliding a little bit, that's okay. And then down towards Hawthorne's. Brilliant section of track this. I've actually walked the perimeter path around here, and it is certainly undulating is the word that I would use, and it gets you fit, that is for sure. Then going uphill into this Sheen corner. This is a tricky one, because if you put a foot, even the tyre half onto the grass on the exit, it spits you out into the wall. So you've got to be really careful through there, and through clearways into Jim Clark curve, and then we'll be through to the end of a lap and see what that time Higgins has got. Although he's onto the grass, keeping out the wall, Gareth. If he keeps out the wall, he doesn't need to reset, because if he resets, he ends up with that heavy fuel load once again.
You saw how laser focused he was, though. That was a good attempt at a lap there from Higgins, but it all came undone towards the end there. And now we'll have to, again, take this one as an out lap, maybe go out again. Yeah, that's a bit of a struggle there. Gariboli still, well, briefly leading the AM qualifying, instead getting upset by Luke Pennington. Matt Emery getting himself to the pole position spot for the moment. Remember, Sebastian Job still lying in wait, still has not set a competitive lap time here just yet, but I imagine that will be imminent in this situation with 7.5 minutes left to go. Here he is, just getting, well, slow traffic dealt with, coming through the middle sector now.
I just want to touch on the AM qualifying as well. It's worth pointing out the last 2 rounds of the championship, Luke Pennington set the fastest qualifying time of any AM, and in fact is 3 of the last 4 rounds for AM pole position. So Luke Pennington could be a little bit of a thorn in the side of Gariboli or Higgins here. As across the line goes Job, and well, that sets him to the front of the field with that lap time, but I think he'll back off and then go for another lap.
Yeah, I think so too. There's still plenty of time left in the session to be able to do so. But with AM qualifying, you have to remember the bonus points as well. Still in effect. And, well, that's might be the deciding factor, isn't it? You know, especially with 2 points separating the AM leaders here at the moment. 2 point swing either way could decide it. So you got to be making sure you can pick up these bonus points.
I don't think we could ever top the drama of last season when we did have a bonus point for fastest lap, but now that's no longer the case. So the bonus points that you're looking for are pole position here, and as you say, 2 points to the pole position sitter. You know, if Higgins gets that puts him equal with Leo Gariboli going into the first race of today. So it's the tension is there in the AM Championship. But let's not forget as well, as we mentioned earlier, Will Chadwick, Matt Emery, Jamie Moon and Jack Sedgwick, they're all trying to get themselves into the top 3 because there are prizes for the top 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And you want to get yourself stuck in here. That's why, you don't really necessarily want to get complacent in races like these. Even if you're safe in terms of your championship positioning, it's always worth going 110% in these races because, if you get yourself on the podium, then you'll be eligible for that prize money. Here are the live points here at the moment. You can see those 2 bonus points being applied to Luke Pennington here at the moment. Still with that outside chance at getting the championship, but would require a catastrophic race from both Garibaldi and Higgins to make that possible. But what he is doing right now, Paul, well, briefly, was denying the points to the top 2. But now we've seen Garibaldi go to the front and pick up those bonus points.
Yeah, that's just swung in Garibaldi's favour, so that would put him 2 points further ahead than Higgins. And it would mean that if he did end up getting pole position, Garibaldi, it would mean that actually Pennington would be out of the shot of the championship, because it would just put him 2 points too far behind the championship leader at the moment. Jamie Moon, he's had a good few rounds recently. He's been involved in the fights up at the front. It's great to see that sort of light turn of pace from Jamie.
Yeah, it has been absolutely brilliant to see, like you said, from Jamie, because we know he's capable, very, very capable indeed of running at the front of these things, and in fact has done so, has been relatively close to the front for many of the races so far this season, and of course has got himself a couple of second places there up onto the board, so looking for that race win. Maybe today might be the day, but that requires maybe Job not being quite on things, which we have no evidence for here at the moment, given that he's in that pole position by just over a tenth of a second there. And a track as short as this one, a tenth of a second, is it's actually still quite a significant margin.
Leon Penn is on one on this lap at the moment. He's been putting in best sectors, personal best, and puts himself at the 4th for Beef Central. He actually set a absolute best sector on that lap as well, so there is time out there on track still.
Yeah, it does seem to be the case. I wouldn't say that everything is completely settled here as far as this qualifying session goes. So that is important information to know, especially for those AM drivers. But in terms of this battle for second place in Pro, Matt Emery, of course, in second place in qualifying here at the moment. Then you've got Will Chadwick there in 3rd. So Emery getting one over Chadwick here at the moment, and Moon is not too far behind on the starting grid here at the moment as well, as we see Job take a little bit of an off-track escapade there. In the very middle of the circuit. There we go. So that's basically Job's qualifying done for all intents and purposes. But the battle for P2 is still looking relatively interesting between Emery and Chadwick in particular.
You say that about Job, but he's got time for another lap, because it's only a minute and 23 is the pole position time, so there's plenty of time to get that lap time in. Here comes Garibaldi. He's been on some good times across the line, gets himself up into 5th place. What a time from RM Championship leader. He's setting a marker out here, isn't he?
Garibaldi has turned up here at Brands Hatch, putting many pro drivers in between himself and his closest AM rivals. Higgins needs a good qualifying lap at the very end of this session. Down in 14th place, dead last, still has not set a competitive qualifying time. Josh Malin going to the very front of the order, just over half a tenth of a second faster than what Sebastian Job's effort was. So might we see a pole position going to a different driver for the first time this season?
Well, Job's currently set a personal best first sector. There's another sector as an absolute best as well. Jamie Moon's on some really good times as well, sector time wise, so Moon's having a good one. Leo Garibaldi, he's in pit road, he's done for the day in terms of qualifying, but it's going to be interesting to see how we end qualifying here.
Yeah, battle for overall pole position going on here. Job has gotten every single one so far this season. and the bonus points associated with it. Not that the points matter to him anymore, but he's heading his way across the line now. Let's see what he can do. It's a 1:23.755, which will bring him to pole position. Sebastian Job finding the 10th of a second required to put him in the best spot on the grid. Here comes Will Chadwick then coming up across the line now. Let's see what his effort is, where it puts him. It puts him up to third place, directly behind Josh Malin, but more importantly for him, ahead of Matt Emery. Here's Leon Penn coming across the line there, 5th place for him. And well, we're just having to wait for Higgins, and it's not a great time for Higgins actually. It came across the line, 12th place overall, and has a couple of AM drivers, well, even pro drivers in between himself and Gariboli.
Yeah, I think Gareth will be thinking, well, that isn't an ideal start, losing 2 points to my championship rival, but, well, you don't win the championship in qualifying, you win it in races.
Yep, absolutely, but a good qualifying gives you, it makes your races, well, a little bit easier. If you get yourself a little bit further up on the starting grid here, Paul. But yeah, what an interesting qualifying session. We had a little bit of uncertainty for overall pole position just for a moment there, but Sebastian Job in the end came out and delivered and has picked up every single qualifying session pole position so far, well, for the entirety of this season. So he gets himself onto pole position with Josh Malin there in P2 on the front row for number 90. Then we've got Will Chadwick there in P3, Matt Emery in P4, Leon Penn P5, Jack Sedgwick rounds out the top 6 drivers. Then you have Leo Gariboli with a fantastic qualifying session that will set him up for his best chance at taking this AM championship. He puts that number 89 Team PGZ car in P7. Then you've got Jamie Moonen from Team 75 by Sim RC there in P8, with Jamie Rushworth from Pure Sims in P9. Luke Pennington will start in P10 with Jacob Toffs in P11. Then you've got Gareth Higgins on the back foot already, coming into today, starting in P12. Then you got Thomas Cope and Scott Mokes, the Olympus Esports cars sharing a row there towards the back of the grid. And then we have Brandon Blakesley from ATRS Esport that did not set a time here in qualifying. So there we go. We've got a starting grid then, Paul, for race number 1. Let's have a little bit of a look at how our drivers are doing. Can't read too much into those emotions, especially of Gariboli and Higgins there.
I think Higgins is a little bit frustrated, but he needs to focus up, ready for this race. But certainly, it's going to be an intriguing start to this one. And, well, first lap, quite cool conditions out there, it must be said. The track temperature is just a hair around 22 degrees Celsius, so it's actually quite a typical day at Brands Hatch, if I'm honest.
Yeah, this is pretty normal temperatures going on here at the moment, especially given the situation. Although the sim time is in October, so maybe not so normal. We won't have 20 degrees in the air in October.
Absolutely normal for this time of year, at least.
Yeah, for current time of year, maybe. For the in-sim time of year, maybe not. As drivers getting themselves ready on that starting grid. And in a very few short moments, we'll be charging our way down into Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Sebastian Job on pole position, Josh Malin sharing the front row with him. And you've got Chadwick on row 2, as well as Matt Emery. So we want to be looking at the front of the field, but also we want to be looking in and around Gariboli to see if he gets through this first lap unscathed. But we're about to get going then for the final race meeting for 2023 of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. We're off for the way here at Brands Hatch GP. A little bit of a palaver there at the very back. This is side by side for the race lead into Paddock Hill Bend. They were 3 wide behind as well there for P4 as they climb the hill now in towards Druitt. Here comes Josh Malin going for the race lead of your pro champion. Oh, there's a bit of content there on the outside, and Job has lost positions. He's down into P3. Chadwick's able to pick it up underneath.
You sometimes don't want to start on pole position here at Brands Hatch. It's a steeper hill for you compared to P2, and Josh Malin has shown exactly why you want to start from P2 around here at Brands Hatch. But Will Chadwick now putting the pressure on Josh Malin. Job, he won't be too concerned about that. He'll be a little bit annoyed about that that when he'll focus up and try and get to the front of the field again.
Absolutely, so we got a race on for the overall race lead now, because if Job was able to get a first lap or two under his belt, then he would just be running for the hills. But now Job has work to do. He's in third place now after losing those positions off for the start. So it's going to be very interesting to see how Chadwick and Malin hold on to this in terms of their defensive driving, because, you know, the trend has been throughout the season that Sebastian Job is just that 10th or so of a second quicker every single lap than pretty much everyone else in the field. So he will have the overall pace advantage here, as long as that car isn't too damaged. Remember, it was quite a whack there towards the driver's right-hand side. So as long as all the wheels are in alignment, it should be okay, but we'll have to wait a couple of laps to see if the pace is still there. Someone's gone off in the background there. I think it was Scott Mokes, one of the Olympus cars, having a problem towards the very back of the field. And I get the feeling this one's very clumsy, at least looking back at it myself.
Well, I mean, Brendan Blakesley as well has headed back to pit road as well, so it doesn't really take too much to look into that. This is lap number 1 then, this is at the start. Malin went in a little bit hot into Druids. Job gets caught out by that. And let's have a look from Will Chadwick, so you can see Malin goes a little bit deep, cold tyres, the back end slid out. That just caught Job, and Will Chadwick says, thank you very much, I'll take that spot. Here we go, looking at what happened here. Oh, that is a little bit clumsy between Blakesley and Mokes in towards Paddock Hill Bend, and just pulling out when you've got a car alongside you. It's 2 and 2-1, just does not go.
Yeah, nothing Blakesley could have really done in that situation.
That's Pennington.
Yeah, it is. So a couple of incidents here on the opening couple of laps here, Brands Hatch. That's Pennington down on towards the pit lane. Mokes obviously down in towards the pit lane. We've also got Blakesley as well. Obviously going to be out in terms of that situation with a heavy impact into the wall in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Meanwhile, there's Leo Garibaldi leading the AM class here at the moment, but Gareth Higgins, though, has made some very good progress over the past couple of laps, or these initial couple of laps, bringing himself up into third in AM, and not outside of the realms of possibility that he'll be able to catch up to Rushworth and potentially go for Garibaldi towards the end of the event.
I think ideally he wants to get past Rushworth in that Pure Sims Esports car as quickly as possible to get that place. And you're absolutely right, Sebastian Job, you can see it on the left hand side on the timing tower, has made it past Will Chadwick, and I'm feeling that that's a little dive to the inside at Surtees, because Malin's just pulled away a little bit at the front.
He has, but I think that gap will be gobbled up in very, very short order as Joe on the charge back through the field after that initial incident in towards Druids for the first time here in race number 1. 21 minutes left to go here. Still lots of stories to be told. We've got ourselves the AM Championship there down in P8. That's still yet undecided. Rushworth splits the 2 championship leaders down there at this very moment in time. Pennington down on, due to the incident for Pennington, that's basically his championship hopes over, even if they were even there in the first place, given the mathematical situation that he was in. So it's now a straight-up duel between the 2, Garibaldi, Higgins.
And the thing is, you can't drive within yourself if you're someone like Gareth Higgins. You've got to drive how you've been driving all season long. As soon as you start changing how you drive, thinking about your championship, you throw your championship away. You've just got to do what's been successful for you throughout the entirety of the season, and that's the same for Higgins as well. It's almost a little bit easier for him because he is the chaser, so he's the one having to do the chasing. As there we see those live points on the right hand side of the screen there. So Garibaldi 115 to Higgins 107 on the live standings at the moment.
Yeah, making some very, very good progress indeed.
Higgins.
Higgins going towards the inside of Rushworth. Yeah, he knows that time is of the essence. He needs to try and pick up these points to the inside. Oh, that can get very, very sketchy there in towards Sheenkers, but now in towards Sterling's that cambered left-hander as we get ourselves towards the back end of the lap here. Both of them losing time to Garibaldi further down the road. Cope committing in towards the final corner there, a little bit unsettled in terms of the car, and now Tofts has got a run in the background there on that Olympus Esports car behind. So a bit of a dive there from Tofts in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Will he force Cope to go wide? Yeah, well, you don't have much room to go wide through Paddock Hill Bend there, as Rushworth demonstrated a bit further down the road.
It was Tofts who had a bit of a mare off the start on the very start of the race. This is at the very back of the runners that are left in this race. Already we've lost 3 drivers here, unfortunately, in this race. As Tofts looking to the inside of Thomas Cope into Surtees. Of course, corner named after the only ever world champion on both 2 wheels and 4 wheels. So John Surtees, synonymous with British Motorsport and Brands Hatch.
Yeah, what a driver. Multi-disciplines, very flexible indeed. You see the very front of the field heading their way through in this middle sector here at the moment. Through Sheen in towards Sterling's. Josh Malin still leads by 0.3 of a second here, so he's doing very well in terms of keeping Sebastian Job at bay here. And, well, he came off a very, very, very big high in the previous event, picking up his first race win in race number 2 last time out. And we saw him react on the webcams. And he was absolutely enthralled with the situation, and I bet he's enthralled with this situation here at the moment, leading at the 17-minute mark in race 1.
And that's the thing, I think we knew that he's a super quick driver. We know that. I think it was just getting that win under his belt has really helped him in terms of his confidence and being right at the front here. I mean, we saw how aggressive he was with Sebastian on that opening lap. He doesn't respect anybody's reputation out there. He's wanting to do what's best for Josh, and quite rightly as well. Sebastian, he won't be too bothered about it because, well, he's won the championship already. So yeah, it's great to see Josh up at the front here in a race 1 now as well.
Yeah, the only thing Job might be concerned about here is just the prize money. he wants that extra 50 quid for finishing in P1 rather than in P2 here. So that's the situation he's going for. 50 quid for well, 150 quid for the race win here in both races. So that is. There's no small payday, shall we say, especially if you get both of the race wins, as Sebastian Job has done a few times this season. So that's a worthy goal to go for. But currently, that gap not really getting all that much closer between the two.
It's a nice bit of spending money for Sebastian, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. He has
with the multiple championships that he's involved in, I'm sure he likes that little bit of extra money in his pocket just to be able to buy himself. I don't know what he'd buy himself, to be honest.
You have to delve into the mind of Sebastian Job. What are his wants and desires? What is it? Probably to be left alone and just go chasing for this P1. That's probably what he wants here at the moment. But there's the battle for P4. Leon Penn, Sedgwick. We've got Emery and Moon all sort of split up into 2 pairs of 2 here at the moment as we ride on board with Jack Sedgwick as he gets closer and closer to Leon Penn. But this is such a challenging portion of the circuit because, especially on these exits, that grass is just so tempting. But it can go so wrong very, very quickly if you just step, like you said, half a tyre out of line.
It's not tempting, is the grass, because you don't want to touch it because we've seen
you want to get as close to it as possible.
But you do want to get as close to it as possible. Absolutely right. As Sedgwick now gets a tremendous run there on Leon Penn, the NX driver, a stalwart of the NX racing, and well, he's going about things how he wants to. And well, here's the replay of the start then. So that is what happened right at the start for Thomas Cope. So on the start, and it was just a really slow launch from Tofts. Cope went and dove to the right, and unfortunately there's grass there, which means that he goes tickling down the wall.
Another demonstration of how tricky it is to get these cars started in a standing start. I think that's been very well demonstrated there. We've seen that a couple of times in this season with drivers very, very sluggish, getting themselves off their grid position, and it just causes a whole situation in behind where drivers have to keep their heads on a swivel and make sure they could avoid any problems that are further down the starting grid. The interesting situation is that you don't actually, in the real world, you'll have marshals on the pit wall which will deploy the yellow flags to if someone's slow getting off the line or if someone's stalled. But you don't have that here in iRacing, so your situational awareness is perhaps a little bit less than it would be in the real world.
And plus, if you're the car starting directly behind as well, you've got very little room to react as well, so that's why it was a bit more of a abrupt move to the right-hand side, because you couldn't really go to the left because there were cars to his left going down the middle, so yeah, it was very little choice in that matter for Thomas Cope. Gareth Higgins hasn't been able to overtake Jamie Rushworth here. It's a really good display of defensive driving from Rushworth, and in fact, his last lap was 0.4 of a second quicker than Higgins, so it's not going Gareth Higgins' way at the moment in the SAM Championship, but as we saw last season in the Championship finale, it can all get decided on the last lap of the last race.
It absolutely can, so I wouldn't be too dejected, here if I was Gareth Higgins. Yes, you're falling a little bit further behind in terms of the championship if things finish as they are here in race number 1. However, brand new race coming up. Of course, they would have to start in their current running positions in that situation. Again, if this is brought on towards the very end of the race, because it's only the top 6 that get themselves a reverse grid here, so none of them are in any of those reverse grid positions. If Garibaldi was able to get up to it, say, that would basically be one hand on the trophy for Garibaldi, but that's not the situation that we have here at the moment, and let's see the permutations as well when it gets into that race too.
Yeah, it's so... Oh, nice run from Job and immediately defensive from Malin, and here comes Will Chadwick. He's been battling with Sebastian this season. I think he would have liked to have been challenging for the title even today, but that was just a little bit too far for Will. But Will's been sort of loitering. He dropped off the back of them a little bit. Has he been looking after his tyres a little bit during this race, and now he's making a push for it?
It could be. We've seen this time and time again from Sebastian Job, though. In particular, in race number 2 is where he has potentially fallen behind a little bit. He's just, just very happy, just sitting there, conserving his tyre performance, and then in the last, say, 6 or 7 minutes of the race, that's when he starts to really unleash the pace that he has. So I think that's probably the same thing that's happening now. Of course, the difference is here he's got a little bit of pressure from Will Chadwick from behind. So it's a very interesting situation there for our podium runners. Our wonderful director, Arjuna, has been in the background doing the calculations for the AM Championship, and he says that Leo would need just to finish race 2 to win the championship with these points. So Higgins, that makes it very simple for him, doesn't it? He needs to try and get up to Jamie Rushworth and pass him. That's the only situation. Yeah,
absolutely. With Leo getting that pole position, there's 2 bonus points for pole position. That just means that it put him 4 points clear in the lead of AM, and of course it's only 10 points for a race win in this championship. So it's tough going out there for Gareth Higgins right now, and the problem is they've got that gap between Garibaldi and Rushworth and Higgins has actually got Jacob Tufts closing up on him as well, so Gareth's got to be careful here. Now, that won't lose him any points in terms of the championship, but he does not want any more cars between him.
Absolutely not. Just couldn't afford that to have that happen. So there's a lot on Higgins' shoulders then for these final 10 minutes of race number 1, trying to keep his championship hopes alive. But given Rushworth's pace, especially in the middle of this race where he has been able to pull a slight gap, that might be easier said than done for him.
And Jamie Rushworth knows this track really well from other series. I've actually raced against Jamie, and as a teammate of Jamie as well, in multiple series. We used to regularly come to this circuit, this particular layout as well. Yes, not in these Porsche 992s, but certainly having that track knowledge really does help you around, especially around Brands Hatch.
If Rushworth is able to get this second place, he would be equaling his best finish so far this season for a second time. So we'll have 3 of those second place finishes, as we have a little bit of off-track escapade there. But bouncing things right back to the very front of the field, because again, Josh Miller's still leading by 0.4 of a second, and look at how close Chadwick is to the back of Sebastian Job. Really trying to make his life difficult here, isn't he, Paul?
He's all over him, and Job's being kept honest here. Now, if somebody knows how to deal with the pressure of having somebody right on your tail, it is Sebastian Job. From not only his time, he got a tyre onto the grass then on the exit of Sheen. That's just lost Job a 10th or 2 there on Josh Malin. But yeah, if Sebastian knows how to deal with pressure, it's not just from his time here in this championship, being now a 2-time champion, but also from his time in the Porsche Esports Super Cup, with how tight that field is as well. So he's somebody who's vastly experienced, knows how to deal with pressure. He doesn't need to get involved in Will Chadwick's race. Chadwick's trying to get the best result as possible. I mean, it's not like Sebastian. He won't just move over. He'll make Will fight for that.
Look, Higgins has made up the gap. Like, Higgins has absolutely made up the gap here to Jamie Rushworth. So the battle is on for second place in AM. Battle is on and currently happening for second place in Pro, because Chadwick's found his way to the inside of Job, and he's found his way past as well. Wow, that's a great move there from Chadwick. It's still not done though, as Job heads himself towards the outside of Hawthorns. Going too wide through here can be very sketchy indeed. But these two are able to make it work out, as we see the battle for second place in AM going on as well. Higgins looking all over the place, trying to find a way through, trying to find a line, but currently unsuccessful. And he's going to be starting getting pressure from behind as well, because Toff's on the outside looking into this one. This is such an important position to gain for Higgins. It keeps him within much of a better shot of the championship heading in towards race 2. Is definitely on the back foot, don't get me wrong, but makes it much more easier than it otherwise would be.
Yeah, it's 2 more points is what it would gain him in the championship battle, just to help him out then. So going into the final round, it would be 6 points rather than 8 difference, as Higgins through Paddock Hill Bend. As I said, Rushworth wide into the gravel there, little mistake. Higgins looking to the inside. Little bit of a bump. It was a big lock-up as well, and the 2 of them side by side. Rushworth won't give this one up now.
No, he absolutely won't. To the inside of Graham Hill Bend. Is there an up and under opportunity for Higgins? We're riding on board here with Toft as they head their way through and down in towards Surtees here. Higgins getting himself to the inside, but that Pure Sims car looks pretty good on the outside. Can't quite keep the overlap though. And here comes Tofts now, heading up towards Pilgrim's Drop as they drop down the hill. Climbing back up, there's almost a bit of trading paint between the 2 of them. In towards Hawthorns now. And, this is looking fantastic, but Toss going to have to back out of the move. No opportunities here in towards this middle sector. There's the updated points. Garibaldi still on 115. Higgins on 9. Higgins narrowing the gap here. And to the inside goes Toffs.
I would love to see that again, to see whether there was a touch or not, or whether Jamie saw it coming, opened up the steering just to give the space to Gareth. If there was a touch, I know what Jamie Rushworth is like. He would have certainly had a few terse words to say. As Josh Bailey's dropping down the order. He's had a spin at Paddock. Absolute nightmare. But we saw that replay then. I think it was under the slightest of touches, if there was one.
I can't believe it, Paul. Malin was looking so good. He had an extended gap after that battle between Chadwick and Job, but a single car error and an impact with the wall as well has completely ruined things for Josh Malin. from the high of last time out, taking a race 2 win, looking like he was going to take a race 1 win, unaffected by any form of reverse grid.
Oh.
But he finds himself in an incident coming out of Paddock Hill Bend, and there's more problems for Pure Sims there.
That was tough.
Rushworth, yeah.
Toff's getting into the back of Rushworth, sent him round at Druids. My goodness. Well, what's gone into the water in this last couple of minutes? It's all seeming to happen right now. Malin's back up and running. He's behind Garibaldi. Garibaldi, I tell you what, if you're Leo, you are hoping that Jamie Moon or anybody in that top 6 has a mistake that falls them behind, because Garibaldi will want to be getting an inverted grid position to put him as many cars between him and Higgins as possible.
He would, but you gotta feel for Malin though.
Oh yeah.
He was looking like basically the surefire bet to win this race. He had about 7 tenths, 8 tenths of a second there after that, the whole scrap between Job and Chadwick, but in the end it didn't happen, and that was going to be his chance to say, I can get a race win without any reverse grid, because he got the good end of the reverse grid in race 2. He got himself held the front very well in race 2 at Silverstone, and was able to or rather Donington Park, but it was he was able to get himself a very comfortable race win, but in the end that just I have no words to describe it.
It's heartbreaking, but everybody, and I mean everybody, has made that mistake at the bottom of Paddock Hill Bend. I can guarantee that everybody who has ever raced laps or done even just laps around this track will have made that mistake at Paddock Hill Bend. Leon Penn, well, he's delighted. He's up into the top 3 now. With Jack Sedgwick, he can sniff a crisp £50 note in his name.
Here we go, in towards Paddock Hill Bend. He's going to go for a bit of an attempt at defensive line being taken. Down the hill, down in towards Druids now, getting himself towards the inside line. Had to be late on the brakes into here. And, well, will be able to draw himself alongside. Penn can't really fight this one unless he's able to maintain the overlap in towards Graham Hill Bend, which he has done, but he's going to wash out in the middle of the corner, forces Jack Sedgwick wide and onto the grass. That's a position picked up by Emery as well, which I'm sure Chadwick wouldn't want to hear.
And Jamie Moon as well gets a place, so changes at the top of the pro standings. Yeah, Emery, I think Emery's a little bit just too far back to be in with a shout of getting second place in the championship, but it'll help Emery's fight for third place in the championship, that is for sure. There you see those live championship standings now. As things stand, 9 points between Emery and Jamie Moon for third place.
Yeah, absolutely, and well, only 10 points on offer for a race 2 here, so this should be all clean sailing for Chadwick here at the very end of the session. And well, if he's able to convert this, I will be very careful with my words here, because I think I've already jinxed Malin, so I will try not to jinx Chadwick. But here's his way up towards start finish line now. Meanwhile, battle still not decided. Oh, sorry, that's a replay there of Sedgwick's situation in towards Graham Hill Bend, just being forced that little bit wide there by Leon Penn. And yeah, Stewards will be looking at this one after, because you do have to leave a little bit of room there.
I think Jack actually really should have got on the brakes a bit more going into Graham Hill Bend to get the cut under on the exit of the corner, because that Leon Penn's car was always going to be running wide, and Penn's under pressure now, and in fact Emery's got past. Oh, Penn has got a slowdown penalty, has he?
What?
He's slowed down. I wonder if he's given the place back. He's given the place to Sedgwick. He must have done that. Well, either way, that puts him actually in provisional pole position for the second race of the day as well.
500 IQ moment there from Leon Penn. It's like, I can give my place back, potentially avoid a penalty, and get reverse grip pole position. I'll take that every single day of the week. There we go. But we're on the final lap then confirmed. It's Chadwick with 7 tenths of a second advantage, now 8 tenths of a second advantage back to Sebastian Job there. And it's been a very intriguing race for Chadwick. he's going to be able to pick up his first race win of the season. It feels weird saying that, given he's been fighting out the front for so long. But coming out of the final corner now, the Optus Esports car, the number 88 of Will Chadwick, comes across the line. A big celebration of a race 1 win here at Brands Hatch GP for Will Chadwick. Leo Garibaldi across the line takes the AM class win and has one hand on the trophy here as far as the AM championship is concerned. Higgins, well, does what he needs to do, at least in terms of trying to make sure that gap isn't as significant coming in towards race 2 by that second place AM finish. But let's have a look at the unofficial results then from race number 1. It is Will Chadwick that takes the race win from Sebastian Job by 9/10 of a second. Then you have Matt Emery there in P3, picking up the 50 quid for finishing in that position. Then we've got ourselves Jamie Moon there in P4 with Jack Cedric in P5, Leon Penn P6 with Leo Garibaldi in P7, and most importantly taking the AM class win. Then you've got Josh Malin, what could have been the heartbreak there in the very final couple of laps where he was in a dominant, well, not so dominant, but in a comfortable leading position and just dropping it on the exit of Paddock Hill Bend. That is tragic there for Josh Malin. Then we have Gareth Higgins there, second place in AM. It's still a lot of work to do there in race 2 if he wants any hope at taking the AM championship, but it's still a possibility. Then we've got Thomas Cope there in P10. We've got Jacob Tops there at P11, and then we've got a gaggle of AM drivers towards the back that had problems. Jamie Rushworth, of course, we saw the problems with him. Then we had Luke Pennington early on in the race with Scott Mokes and Brandon Blakesley, all 17 laps down. So we've got our penultimate race in the books here, Paul. We've just got one more to go for this 2023 season of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. Our Pro Championship, of course, has been decided. It's been decided even before we had that previous race. Sebastian Job, 153 points. But what has also been decided here, Paul, is a P2 for Will Chadwick.
Yeah, second place confirmed then for Will. Well, about time he won a race, I would say, this season. He's been up there and about, trying to get himself a win, and he's finally got it. And he got it done on track, making a move on Sebastian Job, champion. Yeah. So that's something that he can take out of that as well. It just shows what you can do out there if you get your chance to put your mind to it. Of course, all results are provisional, as we always like to say, but yeah, that Pro Championship all sewn up. But it's this, the AM Championship, 6 points separate Leo Garibaldi and Gareth Higgins. Luke Pennington is secure in third place, even after having that incident in race number 1.
Yeah, and well, Adam State's still mathematically possible that you'll be able to get up into P4 from Jamie Rushworth, but it requires a non-finish and a race win for Adam State. So big task back there. But Paul, you're standing by with a very happy Will Chadwick. Yeah, he's finally gone and done it. You know, take your time, Will. But congratulations on a race win here.
Thank you. I wish I had I'm sorry I didn't have my Zoom on. I was trying to do it before qualifying. I was very happy over the line, to say the least. But yeah, finally. I mean, do you know what? A lot of shout out goes to 2 people there. Crimsic, because he's been training me mentally. And I was saying exactly what he was saying to me in my head all the time, because I get panicked. I get a bit shaky. But and also Arjuna for having a go at me last week on broadcast, because that made me extrally motivated, because I know he's producing this and he'll hate to see me beat Sebastian there.
So there we go. All you need is just people to really burn a fire under you to get you going. But yeah, it is a race win. Finally, you got that monkey off your back. It confirms you in second place in the championship as well. As a season of a whole, you must be really happy with how this has gone.
100%. I mean, I'm really happy to secure second into this. You know, I didn't get loads of prep going into this event because I had work stuff on, which is unfortunate. But clearly, I was able to knock the nerves off. I was happy with my qualifying in third. The entire season has been a battle for me between just trying to make that step to try and beat Sebastian in one of these races. I know that he has a lot on these days, but it's still an achievement for myself to be able to finally be able to beat him on the road. You know, nothing nothing really happened. He passed me and I was able to pass him back. But yeah, I'm really over the moon with the season. You know, my aim for the season was going in trying to get third in the championship. You know, that was my minimum aim, and we've come away with second, so I'm more than delighted.
Right, well, there you go. It's Will Chadwick, second place in the championship. You've got one more race to go. Is it just a bit of fun now for you?
Absolutely. Well, the monkey's off my back finally. You know, you saw it with Josh because he did a great qualifying. I mean, condolences go to him. He drove such a good race. Yeah, you saw it with Josh. He was really quick after he got that monkey off his back. Quick in qualifying today. Quick at the start of the race today. Hopefully, we'll see where we're going from 6 and give it a good go to finish off the season nicely. But that's exactly what I wanted from this final round.
Go prep for the final race of the day, Will. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a man who's £5,000 richer as well. Lovely.
I think I'd be happy if I got £5,000 confirmed in my name. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we might ask him if he comes in for race 2. We might ask him what he's going to spend it on, or if he's going to be diligent and save it for rainy day fund or for a bigger investment. But yeah, I'm sort of happy for him that he's finally gotten that race win, because the start of the season particularly wasn't absolutely amazing for Chadwick, and of course, we expected him always to be fighting at the very front of the field. He was always going to be up against it as well, given the pace of Sebastian Job. How do you even begin to match or even best the pace of Job? Like many people, basically everyone doesn't even know where to start with regards to that. But he's given it a good go. Yes, the overall championship slipped away from him, but P2 is still a very nice place to be, and potentially looking forward to next season as well, because we've seen Chadwick come on leaps and bounds since we first saw him a good couple of years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. The development of drivers throughout the season, not just Chadwick, but also Malin as well, getting those race wins really does put them in good stead for the future.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll take a little bit of a break here as we go to the track guide once again with the guy right next to me.
I'm Paul Smith, commentator for the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great British Championship, and welcome to Brands Hatch for the final track walk of the season. Brands Hatch Grand Prix is a fantastically flowing circuit with plenty of elevation change to spare. Finding that flow is key to finding pace here, but that's easier said than done when you will often need to set up overtakes 3 to 4 corners in advance. One of the best areas to make a move is into Surtees, coming onto the Grand Prix loop. It's a great place to try and outbrake someone, but get it wrong and you'll be swallowed up down the next straight and down into Hawthorns. The brave drivers will use the fast sweeper of Westfield to set up the cutback through Dingledale and into Sheen, but again, it is a big compromise, and getting it wrong will see you losing spots onto the grass and possibly even out of the race. With that said, join me now while I take you for a hot lap of the Brands Hatch Grand Prix layout. So here we go then with a lap on board around this magnificent Brands Hatch circuit. Along the Brabham Straight, keep to the left hand side coming into Paddock Hill Bend, down to third gear. Try and get the car to the curb on the inside, use all the curb down the drop on the outside. Keep to the left hand side up Pilgrim's Rise into Druids. Hug the inside of this one, keep to the curb, second gear through there, and then over to the right hand side, down into Graham Hill Bend. Using all of the runoff there and then some on the exit of Graham Hill. Keep to the right hand side for Surtees. You want to get a good run through this one, good exit, because you're going to carry the speed out of Surtees and then along, plunge downhill, down through Pilgrim's Drop underneath the bridge and then into Hawthorns. Fourth gear this corner, try and get the car to that inside curb. It'll help hook your car around here to the left hand side again for Westfield Bend. use all the curve on the inside and the outside as you plunge downhill through Pilgrim's Drop and then back uphill in towards Sheens. Again, using all the curve on the inside, back end wants to just go away from you to the right hand side for the left hander at Sterling's. Use that camber to your advantage. Let the car drift over to the left hand side through clearways into the Clark curve. Third gear and then onto the power once again down the Jack Brabham straight, and that is going to be a lap of this magnificent Brands Hatch venue. I hope that you learnt a thing or two over that lap, and hope that it gets you primed for the final round of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great British Championship. That said, we'll go back live now to Connery and myself.
Well, there we go. A little bit of a tutorial there of how to negotiate yourself around this Brands Hatch GP circuit. The little warm-up session here we have between the two races is just about to draw itself to a close, and we are ready, we are prepared for a second race. And it's going to be the last race of the season as well, and it's the Beef Central car of Leon Penn that gets himself onto pole position thanks to the reverse grid. Then you got Jack Cedric sharing the front row there with that Inex Racing car, the number 10, in the second spot. Then we've got ourselves Jamie Moon starting in third with Matt Emery in fourth. Sebastian Job will line up fifth with Will Chadwick in sixth. Leo Garibaldi will start in P7, looking to try and seal an AM championship for Team PGZ. Then you've got Josh Mayling, who will be looking to try and quickly recover a good finish here in Race 2 after what happened at the end of Race 1 from a leading position. Then you've got Gareth Higgins there in P9. Well, he's got Garibaldi directly ahead of him on the starting grid here, so we'll have to see how that turns out on the first lap of things here with Thomas Cope in P10. Then you've got Jacob Toffs there in P11 with Jamie Rushworth, P12 for Pure Sims. And then we've got Luke Pennington in P13, Scott Merckx P14, and Brandon Blakesley rounding out the 15-car starting grid that we have for Race 2. Just having a look at our drivers, you've got Leo Garibaldi there in the top left. You've got Gareth Higgins, bottom left. Of course, you got Malin there up in the top right, Chadwick in the bottom right. So you can see Garibaldi's very, very focused, very stone-faced here on the zoom cams as we get ourselves our gridding procedure underway for Race 2. What a season it's been, Paul. We've just got one more to go, and then we're done, and then everything is decided. I'm going to miss this.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really good to see the championship go out on a high, and yeah, look forward to next time. But we have got one more race to go here, and the drivers will be looking to get the best possible result that they can do in the final round of this Porsche Esports Carrera Cup of Great Britain. But for me, I want to be looking out for Jack Sedgwick. Started in second place. He's on the more favourable side of the grid for the start here off the front row of the grid. I mentioned it in race 1. Pole position has a steeper hill to climb from the start compared to Jack Sedgwick onto the second place. So it's flatter start for him, so he can get rolling a bit quicker. Watch out for him at the start.
Cedric has had a history of doing well in race 2s as well. Has already picked up 2 race wins from very similar positions. That might concern Leon Penn here off of the initial start, especially with how that grid spot is for pole position. We're about to get underway for the final time in Great Britain for the 2023 season. Charging towards Paddock Hill Bend we go, and it's a slow start from pole position for Leon Penn, but he's still able to hold that inside in towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time. Cedric taking the big wide arc in to try and see if he can get the speed and get the run in towards the braking zone of Druids for the first time. He is able to angle himself towards the inside there, 2 by 2 by 2 through the entire field. Coming through Druids for the first time. Penn is able to hold on for the race lead in terms of getting himself into Graham Hill Bend first. And now Jamie Moon under pressure for P3 as Cedric sends it to the inside for the race lead through Surtees. There was a little bit of a touch in the middle of the corner, but now they're going to fight it as they head their way in towards Pilgrim's Drop.
Crucially, at the start, Gareth Higgins has lost a place, so that means that Thomas Cope has moved ahead of him, and that's going to make his life a lot harder to try and fight for the AM Championship. Oh my goodness, Job's taking to the grass.
Job is taking to the grass and teases with it again on the outside there. So, Emery's been spat out and he drops down the order. That is not the situation the driver in third place in the championship would have wanted, losing a bunch of points. Yes, he's still relatively comfortable in that position given the lack of entries in towards this race. Means that's just that little bit easier to pick up a couple of points towards the very back of the order. But still, Emery all the way down to the final running position. Now in towards Paddock Hill Bend once again. Cedric holding on to this one. Pien in second place, but look at Sebastian Job. He's looking eager already. He's already found an overlap to the inside. He's gone deep on the brakes though. Sebastian Job out into the gravel. He went for the ambitious move, but now he gets cycled all the way to the back.
Somebody pinch me. I must be dreaming. That's a Sebastian Job mistake. That is so rare. Here's what happened on that opening lap. He was squeezed out to the outside of Hawthorne's. Incredible car control on the grass there. And then Matt Emery, a little bit of a touch from the front and the back. And that just drops Emery down the order. Jamie Rushworth has taken the tow back to the pits, I can tell you. But that's Job just locking up. And he's just, you feel so silly for doing that, but it's just an honest mistake. And Rushworth, around he goes, and that's his day done.
Kirby Coal tyres factoring in as well. Yes, they're on the second lap, but they're still not up in towards the correct operating window. So that catching Job off guard a little bit. And now Sebastian Job, well, at the back of the car's still running. So it's a last to first challenge now for Sebastian Job. There's Brandon Blakesley just getting out of the way of everyone, getting himself now to the back of the field. But towards the front, or very near the front, we've got fighting going on. We've got Josh Mayling going down the inside of Garibaldi. Now we've got Thomas Cope looking to try and get the pass done as well. This is not, not needed for Garibaldi, given the situation behind, because Gareth Higgins is just 2 cars further down the line, and if he starts getting mugged by these moves, he falls back into the clutches.
See those live championship points as things stand right now in this championship. In the AM standings, the last thing that Garibaldi can be involved in is an accident, in somebody else's incident, getting somebody tripping over him. If he ends up with damage which ends his race, that will put it all in Gareth Higgins' hand right there. So yeah, it's intriguing how things are going to go for him, but he is going to be feeling a little bit tense, but he may not be showing it. Gareth Higgins, he's got nothing to lose right now. He's just got to gun it and go and try and make some moves, which from that first race we've not really seen him be able to do it, has he?
We haven't. So I mean, still a long way to go in this race, and he's in a much better position at this stage than he was in race number 1. So if he has that late race pace that we saw up against Rushworth in particular in the previous one, then Higgins still might be possible for him. But even if he does get ahead of Garibaldi in this situation, that's still not enough to win.
You're absolutely right there. Yeah, it wouldn't get him the championship just finishing ahead of Garibaldi, because it's only 2 points between first and second place in the finishing order of this race, between first and second. So there's 6 points going into this race difference between them. So Higgins, he needs to finish ahead of Garibaldi and then have Garibaldi end up basically back where Blakesley is.
Yeah, that has to be the situation. Pennington off. Pennington having a big off there in towards Surtees. Unsure of what triggered it, but back on towards the circuit he goes. Not been a fantastic race day for number 74, has it?
Yeah, I think he'll be happy to see the end of today, if I'm honest. He really has not had a good round in this championship here. Has he touched the grass on the way in? Yes.
Yeah. Oh, just that one little touch required, and the car completely upset and gets sent to the very back of the running order. Having a look at the grouping here involving Gareth Higgins, of course Garibaldi just a few cars down further up the line. Like you said, Paul, this is going to have to be Higgins going all out, 110%, nothing to lose whatsoever, and that might be a scary predicament for the cars in front of him. Meanwhile, in the pro standings, of course, Sebastian Job, 153 points. Will Chadwick secure in that second place. Matt Emery, though, in third. Oh, Scott Mokes. That's a big place to go off.
You can't park there, sir, and he does get back running again. But yeah, that's exit of Paddock Hill Bend. Let's see what's happened. Yep, it's exactly what happened to Moon, although he didn't reach the inside one. And great reactions there from Brandon Blakesley. You've not got much opportunity to get out of that one, and you'll see it's exactly what happened to Josh Nealon. All you see is tyre smoke there from Blakesley, so fair credit to Brandon to react to that.
Oh, Higgins has dropped a position. Yes, it's to a pro driver, but it's another pro driver in between himself and Garibaldi now. So that just happened just as we cut back from the replay. I think it might have been a mistake there from Gareth Higgins. So it's a good place to lose a position in such a convincing manner. It's going to be the replay, I think so. Oh, he just gets into the grass.
Carried too much speed through Hawthorns, gets out onto the grass, and you just have to back out of it at that point. So if I'm Leo Garibaldi right now, I'm thinking, right, I know what the gap is between myself and Gareth. If somebody makes a move, if Thomas Cope and Jacob Tofts make a move, or even Gareth Higgins for that matter, if all three of them make a move, just let them pass, sit behind Gareth Higgins, just sit on his bumper, and that's all he needs to do here.
Yep, it is. So multiple options here for Garibaldi. That would be, that would be the boring way to win the championship, wouldn't it?
It'd be the safe way to win the championship.
It would be the safe way. Absolutely would be the safe way. It would be the boring way to win, though, wouldn't it? But it also comes with some risks as well. Of course, you know, you still have that risk of an incident with those passes happening. It's not a non-zero affair. Garibaldi doing absolutely everything that he needs to do, and if not more, in terms of this race 2 here for the moment. So looking very, very good indeed. As far as overall race lead is concerned, or other pro race lead is concerned, Jack Cedric still leads that one by 1.2 seconds now. This is looking very, very good for the Inits driver, looking to pick up his third race 2 win of the season here in the very final race of the season.
Yeah, he's had those race wins in this championship as Jack, and he knows how to go about winning. He's a multiple-year veteran of iRacing World Championships, and I'm not just talking about the Porsche Tagore Esports Super Cup. I think back to the Grand Prix series, I think to the GT series that we used to have. He knows what it's like to race at this top level, as Scott Mokes now is actually taken to pit road. And this, I'm afraid, is how he's headed onto pit road, touched the grass, back end swings out, and has he just decided to park the car? I think he has. I think he said, that's my day done.
Yeah, gonna be too far behind at that point. Yes, it might in some cases be worth you keeping yourself out there just to pick up positions off of people who would have problems later on in the race, but given the situation from Scott Mokes, given this race 2 and of course what happened in race 1 as well, I don't exactly blame him for taking the tow back to pit lane and calling it a day, and calling his entire season basically there with that retirement. We're riding on board there on the small picture with now Leo Garibaldi as he looks back to Thomas Cope there. Still very, very secure in that P6, and Cope hasn't really been looking all that threatening, at least over the last 6 laps. So Garibaldi's basically just cruising.
And why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
It's a very simple thing for him to do right now, is just to take it easy and just get through to the end of the race now. I'm just double checking something here, because I do believe because we're, what, 6 points difference between Gariboli and Higgins coming into this race, wasn't it? And there are only, what, he could fall down to 4th place at the moment in AM, and that would give him 5 points. So, in Scott Moakes, if he's retired and properly retired from the race, then that could have won Leo Gariboli the championship.
Well. That might just be it. Scott Moakes down on towards the pit lane. Not looking like he's going to really be coming out anytime soon. And in fact, he's not even in the car. So I think that might be it in terms of Scott Moakes' race, and that might be it in terms of the championship battle between Gariboli and Higgins, especially with Higgins doing this out in towards the grass.
You can tell he's pushing, can't you?
Yeah.
You can really tell he's pushing. And fair play to get. And look, that Leo Gariboli sees Thomas Cook coming and goes, "After you, mate. You go past. Go on. You might as well go." Well, he's fighting that off from Jacob Tofts, but he saw that move from Thomas Cope and went, "Yeah, there's no point in me fighting that one." And Tofts,
yeah, look at that.
He'll be wise to just let him past. And why wouldn't you?
Yep, race conservation mode for Leo Gariboli here, just making 100% sure that he will be able to get to the end in one piece, and even if he doesn't, he might still end up winning the championship. But there's, Leon Penn's off, Penn is off, and Chadwick has been allowed through. Oh, what's with the mistakes today? It's very weird.
Everybody's going for it. Everybody's trying to push on and get the best result that they can at the end of the season. You know, it's end of school sort of last day of school effect on this one, and yeah, this is certainly moves Will Chadwick up. He'll be happy with that. Will, he's looking forward, but 2.6, 2.7, 2.8 seconds, should I say, to Jack Sedgwick. It's going to be a tall order to be able to move forward. And thank you very much to Ronald Grossman, by the way. Gariboli would still need to complete 75% of the laps to get the points.
Okay, that's fair enough. So what are we looking at in terms of a 75% lap situation here?
Well, 75% of this race would be 50. Well, it's 25-minute. Oh my goodness! You're asking me to do maths live on air. That's not my strong
14.
point.
Oh, Brandy, that would be 14 laps. Because we had, if we have the same amount of laps as we had in the first race, it's 18 laps.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the margin that we're looking at. So yeah, so we just have to get until that point. Of course, for Leo Gariboli, to really consider him the YAM Championship winner at the moment. So if we get to lap 14 and we complete lap 14, that's going to be it.
One driver who is trying to make a recovery drive here, Sebastian Job. As I say, it's very rare that you see Sebastian Job make a mistake, like he did up at Druids on the lap number 2, making that move. But he's having a bit of fun. As he said, last to first challenge, it's not going to quite work out for him, but he's certainly giving it an old push here.
Yeah, absolutely, and this might be a next 10 minutes of entertainment for Sebastian Job, because he's got a bunch of cars all in a train ahead of him, and let's see how quickly or not he's able to get through on them. He's going all the way up to 6th place here with Thomas Cope, so we're riding on the rear view cam with the Olympus Esports car looking back at Tofts. So this might be an intriguing battle here to try and cap off the last 10 minutes of the entire season. Through cities, they come all in that one big single file line. Tofts, of course, just sitting inside the slipstream, not going to be a significant factor around here. Of course, it can give you that slight edge to try and get yourself alongside into a braking zone, but what will do, well, that will do it, wouldn't it? Thomas Cope making a mistake, and there's contact between the two. Thomas Cope out in towards the gravel there and has to rejoin a little bit further down. That was in towards Westfield. That's why it's so sketchy going too wide through those. Well,
normally you try and get the cut back on the exit of Westfield rather than going too wide through it. So yeah, it takes a bit of cooperation between the two of you. Here's Gareth Higgins then, and he's got Matt Emery. Again, Matt Emery is another one who's making a recovery drive after that lap 1 incident, and Job's looking to make a move on Emery behind. He's going to try and get the cut back here through Paddock Hill Bend. Look at that, the classic move, but aggressive defensive driving from Matt Emery.
Emery just swinging right across the circuit, chopping the nose of Sebastian Job, and Job can't quite get his way around the outside of Druids there either, so we'll have to try and think of a little bit of a different plan of action if he's going to be able to get past Emery here, because that's going to be no small feat even for a driver of his calibre. Of course, this is dropping them off the back of the Gariboli and Higgins battle here at the moment. There was the incident with the you don't like to see that happen, do you?
And the thing is, it's a case of, did the outside car just pinch in a little bit on the apex? Did the car on the inside maybe not go quite as far across the apex as they possibly could? It's a hard one as those. And at the end of the day, I just think that's a genuine racing incident in that manner. But of course, we do have to remember that there is post-event stewarding takes place, so all results are provisional.
Yes, indeed they are, but I don't think that's going to be necessarily enough to try and swing things in the championship here at this very moment in time. But we'll keep you up to date, of course. There's Leo Gariboli, just potentially 7 minutes and 40 seconds away from a AM Championship win, and you might even be able to seal it once we get lap 14 done. We're on lap number 13 here at the moment, and drivers have to complete the 75% of the race distance to be able to be classified, and with the couple of AM drivers that are out already, Gariboli will, even if he doesn't finish the race, will be able to score enough points in P4 and AM to be able to take it.
He'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I think secretly, deep down, he wants to win the AM race here as well.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he wants Gareth Higgins to get ahead of him. I think he would rather finish ahead of him on track and have a proper champions drive here. But he's going to have a tough task because he has got a couple of quick pro drivers coming up behind, but they've got to get past Higgins first.
Yep, they do, and that might be Higgins' primary concern here at the moment, the fact that Matt Emery and, of course, Sebastian Job are oh so close. Here is Jack Sedgwick, though, on his lonesome, right at the very front of the field. He's basically doing his best Sebastian Job impression here at the moment. He's got almost a 3-second gap back to Chadwick, and he's absolutely loving life at the front of the field.
Chadwick did go about a 10.5 faster on that last lap, though, so it's a lot of time to catch up. He's got to hope that Cedric makes a mistake. But again, Cedric is one of those drivers who doesn't really make mistakes that often. Oh, Higgins dropping down the order. He's not lost any AM spots, but crucially has Emery and Job between him and Gariboli.
Yeah, just sort of scared out of line a little bit there. It was a little bit of a sketchy braking zone, and then just completely bailed out at the middle of the corner. There we go. And those two, Emery and Job, just clean sailing down the inside. We'll get a little bit of a better view of it on the way in towards Druids there. Yeah, just a little bit too much speed. Car not wanting to comply, not wanting to grip up, and decides to take the safer option, just abandoning the corner and letting the drivers through.
He can still be very proud of how his championship has gone, Gareth. This has been a really, really good performance from Gareth all season, and he's pushed on. He didn't have the best of openings to the championship. He had that real sort of good spell. I think of Alton Park and Snetterton as well being one of those, and has taken opportunities when they've come. So he can be very proud of the fact that he's going to be second place in AM, and he's taken the championship all the way to the very end.
Yeah, absolutely, and it was a fantastic effort at many points over the course of this season to be able to put himself in this spot. Of course, he had that fantastic event at Donington Park, a second place and a first place in AM, to be able to put himself in this position when Gariboli was languishing down the order. You know, that is no small feat, and of course he's had multiple other fantastic performances over the course of this season. He's had the double race wins, just 2 races in a row, 2 events in a row, shall we say. That was race meeting number 3, race meeting number 4, where he was able to get a whole boatload of points, but in the end, still just not quite enough. The consistency of a Garibaldi has just been that little bit better.
And that's what it takes to win a championship, is consistency, but there's been very little between the two of them, it must be said. Job still can't get past Matt Emery here. This must be a little bit frustrating for Sebastian, but he knows not to do anything silly out there. This is a sort of champions parade, so to speak, and they'll be getting all the bunting out at the Red Bull Esports outfit to celebrate Sebastian's championship before they then focus upon their next championships that they've got, that they're involved in. But yeah, Sebastian, he'll be pushing, but he'll also be very clever about it. Moon and Penn, there's still a bit of separation between the two of those, and this season really seems to be just sort of winding down now in the closing stages of this season.
That's certainly how I would describe it. Running on board here with Jamie Moon, who's had a decent season, all things considered. Has picked up a couple of second places over the course of this season. Has been running on a few occasions towards the front, and certainly be relatively happy with his performance over the course of this season, and definitely looking forward to the next one, and of course any other series that we decide to take part in for the rest of 2023, because of course, remember, these drivers are not just focused on this series. There are many seasons of different championships going on in sim racing that all of these drivers have to juggle. And that can be very, very difficult indeed when you're driving one of these Porsche 911 GT3 Cup cars today, but maybe tomorrow you're in a championship with a GT3, and then maybe the day after you're in the open wheels. You know, that's the flexibility of sim racing.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I mean, I found it hard enough to compete in a championship just focusing on one series, let alone multiple championships. But that's where some of these drivers do get the opportunity to be full-time pros, and it just allows them that time to be able to commit to a few series. You can fall into a bit of a trap of ending up sort of burning yourself out and not being able to commit fully to all of the championships that you're competing in. But certainly these drivers towards the front of the field, they're showing it, as Job still showing the nose. He's got 1:20 left in the championship here. He just cannot get by.
Yep. A little bit of late race difficulty here for Sebastian Job. Of course, he hasn't been quite on it today, but you can kind of understand it. He'd already been clear as far as championship's concerned, but Emery drops it in towards the gravel and gives up the position there to Job. Emery, oh, that was a big spin. White flag is out there for Jack Cedric. Just one more lap to go before he gets himself yet another race 2 win in the season.
I think a change of underpants is needed for Emery right now after that moment. My goodness, did well to keep it out the barrier. Here we look, and it's the grass. He touches the grass on the entry, under braking, does very well to keep it out the barrier there and to keep going in this race.
Yeah, just it's big incident, big scary one indeed, but enough gravel out there just to try and avoid the barriers. 15 seconds left on the clock though. There's Jack Cedric, who's been very comfortable indeed over the course of this race. Started in P2 of course, but was able to get up in towards that pointy end very quickly indeed in the opening couple of laps, and simply hasn't looked back from that point. 2.7 seconds over Will Chadwick now, and in towards Stirling's Bend for the final time for the number 10 INEX car. Jack Cedric, of course, it's a little bit of consolation. What won't be consolation, though, is the £150 that he'll get from winning this race. Cedric out of the final corner, takes the final race win of the season. It goes to Inex, it goes to Sedgwick. Chadwick in behind, coming across the line after a great season as well. Here comes Leo Gariboli though. The AMP Championship has been decided, and it's Leo Gariboli taking the title up against Gareth Higgins. A wiggle in celebration, maybe not so much in terms of the emotion, but it's a sigh of relief there from Gariboli. He knew how hard he had to work, even though he held the advantage. There is Higgins looking a little disappointed, but still a P2 here in the YAM order at the end of race 2. Still nothing to be sniffed at, but what could have been?
I think Gariboli will be very happy with today. It's a real champion's drive in terms of AM and to do that. But yeah, you do have to feel a little bit of commiserations towards Gareth Higgins. He pushed all the way to the end of the championship, but Leo just showed that he just that little edge here today that worked out for him.
Here we go then, unofficial race results pending steward's review, of course, of any instance that may have happened out there. Jack Sedgwick takes the race win for Inex Racing for our final race of the season. Then we've got William Chadwick there in second place with Leon Penn in third. So 150 to the race winner, £100 to the second place, and 50 to third. So those guys will enjoy that little bit of bonus money here at the very end of the season. Then you've got Jamie Moon there in P4 with Jacob Toss in P5. Josh Malin rounds out the top 6. Then we've got Leo Gariboli taking the AM Championship win with a 7th place finish overall there for Team PGZ. Then you got Sebastian Job there, just having fun here in the final race of the season in P8 for Red Bull Racing Esports team. Then you've also got Gareth Higgins there in P9. Matt Emery will round out the top 10 overall. Then you've got Brandon Blakesley, Thomas Cope, Luke Pennington. Those are the last of the runners, and then we had our retirements, Scott Mokes and Jamie Rushworth. So there we go, Paul. The season is done and dusted, and we have our 2 champions. It is Sebastian Job and, of course, Leo Gariboli as well. Congratulations to those 2. That's, well, nothing more needs to be said with regards to that, apart from we do have Leo Gariboli standing by with the one, the only Paul Smith. Well, Leo Gariboli, AM champion for 2023 in the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. How does that feel?
I don't know. I've been good. Finally, I'm finished with it. Won it, so that's cool. I don't really know what to say, really. I've been so focused for the last week that I don't really.
I mean, we saw the sigh of relief as you came across the line, and it was just that tension release from you. It must have been so much pressure going into this final round, but to be able to get 2 wins and a pole position, I mean, you can't ask for much more of a perfect week in terms of AM.
I mean, that's kind of what I need to do, really, because I knew most AMs would be gone, so it's just me being ahead of Gareth. I mean, I put so much time into this week for this race in particular. So I'm just happy it's managed to pay off.
Well, it's not just, of course, one round that wins you the championship, it's the entire season, and you've had an incredible season, it must be said. You had that little blip early on, didn't you, with Snetterton and Alton Park, but you've had a really, really good season this year.
Arguable, I don't think it was as good. I mean, Snetterton I got taken out, and then Alton Park was just a mess. And then the only reason I was so bad last time is because I literally got out of bed from being ill just to do the race and then went back, so it was... Otherwise it was good, I guess. I mean, I maximised when I did, so...
And that's it, it's all about taking your opportunities, but yeah, well, congratulations, Leo, for your AM Championship in 2023.
Thank you very much, thank you PGZ, thank you Simify, thank you Cameron for PGZ sponsorship. Let's go.
There we go. Very happy Leo Gariboli, who's yeah, a little bit sort of shocked, I think, shell-shocked with that one. But when you've been putting so much pressure in, so much time in and preparation, it is that sense of relief when you come across the line there.
Yeah, absolutely, and you can forgive it. That's for sure, because when you're in that tight of a championship battle coming into the final round of the season, That is a lot of pressure to deal with. You get laser focused. You get potentially even tunnel visions, which comes with its own problems as well. So, like you said, to have that relief at the very end of the race must have been nice to have for Gariboli. That's for certain. But it's been a great season overall. How would you review the entire season, Paul? Because I think it's been fantastic. We've had a couple of great battles up and down the field. Of course, we had this AM Championship go to the very final round of the season. But I just wanted to hear your thoughts on it.
I think we were always going to struggle to match last year. I think,
yeah, of course.
You know, with the drama and everything that happened last year, I think that we were always going to struggle to match last year for excitement and drama coming into this final round. I would have liked to have seen somebody take the championship to Sebastian this season, but a driver of his ability, it was always going to be a tough ask for everybody out there to be able to compete with him in this championship. The AM Championship has really been where the excitement has been for me, and to see those drivers, not just Leo Gariboli and Gareth Higgins, but also Luke Pennington as well. He's shown pace, maybe not the consistency that Luke needed, but he can maybe take that into following seasons here. I've really enjoyed the championship, and I even got myself a little bit of a track guide as well at the end.
Yeah, you absolutely did. I certainly enjoyed watching that, and it's been great to see all the drivers bring those track guys. Of course, we had Chadwick take field, we had Urban Jake, we had even the race director take part, Ronald Grossman as well. So it's great to see the variety in terms of that one. But of course, you know, we've got a couple of other drivers waiting for an interview. I don't know if you want to take any of them, Paul. I don't know what your opinion is on that one.
Well, it's up to our director, really, as to what we do.
Yeah, because they've all come flooded in all of a sudden. I was just kind of, usually we only get like one or two, but now we've got like 4 drivers in the waiting room. So yeah, we'll have to try and sort that one out in short order. But we've also potentially got ourselves, the summary of the points, which will come after we have a little bit of a conversation with Gareth Higgins. Paul, take it away.
Gareth, I mean, it's tough. It is tough to lose the championship in that way, but you must be proud of how the season has gone and being able to take the championship all the way to the end here.
I mean, firstly, I just want to congratulate Leo. He drove, I think, over the season, he was probably the more unlucky of us, and he still won, which is a testament to how well he drove. Obviously, I'm quite disappointed coming second, but if you told me at the start of the season that I'd have, I think, 5 race wins and come second in the championship, I wouldn't believe it. So I'm still proud, even if today I'm quite disappointed.
Yeah, yeah, I can understand the disappointment at this moment, but you'll look back at the season and think, my goodness, what a season. I mean, you had that real rich vein of form at Snetterton and Alton Park, didn't you? We're just getting win after win after win. You take days like that and you build on that, don't you, going forward for the rest of a championship campaign. And there's what have you been able to sort of learn as well throughout this championship season about yourself and your driving?
Oh, a lot. I've got so much better as a driver just in these 4 months. I mean, I'm qualifying for this series. I remember staying up on the last night of qualifying day because I was so close to getting knocked out. So to go from, you know, barely scraping in for the season to fighting for wins pretty consistently, I'm, very happy with how much I've learned with the car this season.
Well, Gareth, don't be too disheartened. Second place is a heck of an achievement in a championship that was so closely fought, and still, congratulations on that second place in the championship.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, there we go. Gareth Higgins there. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there, Paul. You know, can't be too dejected with the way the season has gone there for Gareth Higgins, because, you know, you really give it a good go. And you pointed out the run of form that he had in the middle of the season with 4 back-to-back race wins, looking on top of the world then. But, you know, the story of a championship is not individual race results. It's the consistency throughout the season which Leo Gariboli had, and the ability to sort of bounce back from those poor events to then keep himself in it, and that's exactly what Gariboli did.
Yeah, and Gareth touched it right on the nail on the head there. Of it was, Leo Garibaldi was the most sort of consistent driver, hence why he's the champion. And I've got him unlucky in a couple of instances as well, did Leo. So yeah, Gareth can be very happy with how he's driven in this series, and to be able to advance to go from barely scraping in to finishing second in AM, I'd be happy with that. It won't feel it now, but I'd be happy with that.
Let's have a look at the recap of the points then. There's the pro standings as they are. This is not including any decisions affecting the 2 races that we've had here today. So these are provisional, but what's not provisional is Sebastian Job being the champion. He's on 155 points there in the pro order. Will Chadwick there, second place. Fantastic stuff there from Chadwick. Despite, the championship being quite far away from him in the end, still was able to hold on to that second place. We've also got Matt Emery there in P3. And of course, remember, in terms of the prize money for the championship, Sebastian Job gets himself $7,500 for finishing in that first place. Second place gets $5,000, and third place gets themselves $2,500. Here's the AM standings though at the end. Leo Garibaldi able to clinch it in these final 2 races of the season, on 125 points to cap everything off. And you've got Gareth Higgins there in P2 with Luke Pennington, despite having not the best of days here today at Brands Hatch, was still able to come home in P3 there on 93 points. Then you've got Jamie Rushford, Blandon Blakesley rounding out the top 5. But yeah, those are the top 10 in each of the 2 championships that we've had over the course of this season, and soon we'll be bringing things to a close. But before we do so, just some final thoughts, Paul.
Really entertaining, really fun, great racing, some drama as well throughout the season. It's what you'd expect from the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain.
Yeah, absolutely. I've certainly enjoyed it. It's been a pleasure to commentate these races over the course of this season. I'm very sure that Paul feels the same way as well. Keep an eye on Porsche social media for any potential next season of the Porsche Esports Carrera Cup Great Britain. But for now, for 2023, we'll have to draw things to a close. Thank you very much for watching. Of course, if you've been watching on the RaceSpotTV YouTube, if you've been watching on the Porsche Twitch, no matter where you are, thank you very much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your Sunday. But for now, we will have to say goodbye.